Welcome to this brand new episode of the She Scales podcast, where today I'm super freaking excited to welcome on a very special guest, Rachael Howourth. Hi, Rach, how are you doing?
Hello, I am so excited to be here. This is going to be a juicy one.
I'm so excited. If you're brand new to Rachael, which you absolutely shouldn't be, but if you're brand new to Rachael's world, Rachael is actually a sales coach and sales mentor, sales strategist, business mentor, business coach, exactly as I am. And you might think, why are you bringing on like someone who is your competitor on paper? Right, there are so many lessons in this. I actually met Rachael at an event 2 years ago, I'd say.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And I think we'll get into the story of that. But when we met and we'd known each other from the online space, we realized how much we'd got in common from our backgrounds, from our stories, how we got started, and our general approach to sales and business now. And so we have always just got on like a house on fire. And so irrespective of, being in the same space, we know that there's enough for everybody and also stronger together. We'll get into all the nuts and bolts and what we've been able to do together since meeting or you can take all of the lessons from that. But before we dive in, let me just say, Rachael is an absolute sales queen. I will always pull up a chair because she's someone that is incredibly knowledgeable as well as incredibly friendly. She has got the time. She is helpful. She is one of the few icons in the industry who knows her shit.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel very, very flattered that you've introduced me with such a powerhouse introduction. Like, as you're talking, I'm like, is that me? Is that me? So yeah, thank you.
So for everybody that's new here, Rachael is an award-winning multi-six-figure business mentor. Her clients call her the online sales queen, and she's trailblazing a pathway for women to live a life of abundance, freedom, and success. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Woo! Here for that.
Do you want to do a little intro to yourself, or do you just want to get straight into it, Rach?
Well, I think you've done such a good job. Anything that I follow up with will be weak in comparison. So, like, whenever I'm asked to introduce myself, I literally just say, I'm Rach, I help women make money. That is all you need to know. So, yeah, I think let's just dive in and see where the conversation takes us today. I can't wait.
Amazing. Okay, so I like to ask people how they got started in entrepreneurship, but I feel like your journey goes back into corporate sales.
It
And
does.
start there.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick this off? How did you, what were the circumstances that led you to have that moment of, I want to go it alone, or I feel like this isn't meant for me?
Yeah, well, I think it had always been in my head that one day I would run a business. I grew up in a family where my dad ran a business, and so it was quite common that I would see him come home after a week in the business and have a good week, or come home and have a not so good week. And so I think I kind of already had that mindset of, when you run your own business, you're in control of your destiny a little bit more. But when I got my first role in corporate, I got a job as sales administrator. It was like the lowest of the low role in the office. I used to write everyone's invoices for them and like do all the donkey work, as they would kind of call it. And I'd worked hard, I worked hard. And so when there was an opportunity to move into a sales role, I was offered that. I saw that it came with a company car. So I was like, oh yeah, brilliant. I'll have a company car. If you work in sales, you get a company car. Great. And then they gave me a £12,000 a week target. And I was like, oh, not so great, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I basically had to learn on the job. And I spent 17 years in that business, basically getting promoted each year. So every time that my manager moved on, I moved into her role. And I was working in a magazine at that time, selling advertising in a magazine. I got to the role where I ran the whole magazine for my local area. And then that was just at the time where the internet was starting to take over and magazines were dying and online was really starting to grow. And so I got put in the team that would then be pivotal in growing the online part of the business. So the business was Auto Trader. Most people have probably heard of that. And after 17 years, I can now look back at that journey and say, I made my way from sales admin to UK sales director from
Boom.
a £7,000 a year salary, because it was that long ago,
My
to
God.
130 grand basic plus commission. And
Boom, boom.
yeah, and so it was a real, a big job, a big grown-up job. The year I left, I had a budget of £100 million. I had a
Wow.
team, 100 of my team had to bring in 2 million a week. I had 57 staff that were internal, like in the office, as well as out across the whole of the UK, including Ireland. It was a real grown-up job. We had 13,500 customers, and I'd had a baby though, and so I was starting to notice that when Oliver would like fall over in the park, he would run to daddy, not mummy. And I was very much like a spare part in my family. I felt like a spare part
Yeah.
because I was traveling all the time, I was away. And the pivotal moment, the turning point, was I was flying back from Manchester down to Exeter, where I live in Devon, and the taxi, picked me up from the terminal. I was about to go on to the motorway to like get me home, and all I saw was a sea of brake lights. Just the traffic was bumper to bumper, absolute car park, and I knew that I wasn't going to get home to put Oliver to bed.
Yeah.
I had a meltdown. When I say a meltdown, I mean I was hysterical crying, the type of crying where you're like, I can't breathe. And
Oh,
the poor taxi driver was like, what the actual hell is going on in the backseat of my taxi? This woman is having an absolute meltdown. And I was like, get me home. That was the moment that I knew I had to leave.
oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
quite the moment.
Yeah, it was a big moment, but I was afraid, like anybody started a business, I was afraid. I had such safety in my corporate role. I wasn't certain that my skills were transferable. I didn't have a clue what I would do. I looked at buying a business because I thought, I know how to run a business. I'll just buy one that's already successful and then grow it. But when I looked around, I couldn't see anything I wanted to buy. So then the alternative was I would just build one from scratch. So I did.
Gosh, that must have been quite, because we often talk about the difference between when you've been used to a salary and then building your own up. And I know from my own sales experience, when you were used to a very good salary, quite but how much of a change that can be. Because a lot of the early content I saw when I joined the online space, which was mostly American, because I didn't see a lot of Brits when I first started. And so they might have been on like a waitress rage or something. And so I saw a lot of content of, oh, I've out earned my salary in like the first month. And I was like, oh, it's going to take me a little while to build that up. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I think if you were used to having a really good salary, I was like, gosh, the culture shock. So
Yeah.
for you who was used to really, really good salary and a 2 million a week target, well, across the team, but still huge, huge numbers to then be, was it quite humbling to start from zero, or did you come
Well,
at it with a different
it
plan?
was, but because I was in a company that was very ambitious, we had just floated on the stock market. There was a lot of growth still in the automotive space, and still is now. I still get people messaging me on LinkedIn now from my background saying, can you give us a comment, please, on the automotive space? Because it's
Mm,
the automotive space in any country is always an indicator of the overall economy. So
yeah.
we were still very much growing. And one day I was in a board meeting, and it was that moment at the meeting where everybody's got their laptops up and they're looking for the date for the next meeting. And my boss is sat opposite me. We're all around this big table, mostly middle-aged white men in suits. And it's like, when should we meet again? And I could see the week that they were looking at was the week of Oliver's birthday. And I was like looking, I was giving my boss those eyes to go, no, 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 don't, please don't choose. It was the 3rd of February, which is next week. It's his birthday next week. And that was the date that they chose. And I said, oh, I can't do that. That's my son's birthday. And my boss reached over and said, oh, darling, he will never know. He won't know. Once he's older, he won't remember. And in the back of my head, I was like, yeah, but I will.
Mm,
I will know that I chose work over my son.
yeah.
That's never gonna be me. And so because the company was growing and I was sort of falling out of love with it, I managed to engineer an exit. So I actually got paid to
Nice.
exit. So once I then that all went through a solicitor, and that solicitor I got quite friendly with, and she invited me to go networking with her. And it was at that
Good.
networking meeting where people were like, what are you going to do? Like, what's your skill set? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to start a business. And they were like, well, what do you know how to do? I said, I know how to teach people how to sell. I know how to build a sales strategy. I know how to make money. And they,
Yeah.
of course, then everyone was like, oh my God, can you come into my business? Can you have a chat with my sales team? And so it just started very, very organically, where I would go in, have a chat, have a coffee with the sales team, find out what was going wrong, make a proposal to put it right. And then it just grew from there. But I never had to go out with no money in the bank because I actually had a payout.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I didn't have that sharking, I'm sharking my way around a networking room going, please pick me. I'm like, I've got no money. It was never that. I was always very, very solid, coming from a place of, I'll work with you. If you're right, you work with me. If I'm right, but I'm not desperate. And I know
Yeah.
that that's a very privileged place to start a business from, because anybody that started from zero knows how bloody hard it is.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you such a more grounded energy of, I don't need you. You can come to me if
Yeah,
you want to, but I'm good either way. And somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah, for sure.
Love that. Thank you for sharing your behind the scenes story. Even I'm learning things and I've heard, parts of this story before. So I freaking love this. And so
Yeah.
when did you get started in like online sales coaching?
So 2016 is when I started my business. And until 2020, that business was very local. So I live in the Southwest, as you know. And so my business was called Momentum Southwest. We were like a training, coaching, and a mentorship company. I built a
Okay.
team of like 10 associates. And for 4 years, I made six figures in the first year. For 4 years, I was bringing in these associates, building like big projects. I did training for NatWest, for some really big marketing agencies, big accountancy like groups, massive. We did loads of law firm work, going into like law firms and teaching them leadership and communication skills as well as sales. And 2020, of course, when COVID came along, couldn't go into any businesses. And so I had to move online. So 2020 was like the big, like, dare I use the word pivot? But that was the year where I was like, shit, the business is going to go under if I don't move everything online. And I had a member of staff at the time who was off on maternity leave.
Yeah.
And, the business was all proper. We had offices that I paid for. I had full-time staff that I paid for. They all
God.
had desks and laptops, and it was a proper,
Yeah.
an office with a training room, and it was great. But I had to pivot really quickly. Otherwise, my team member would have no job to come back from maternity with. And that
Wow.
felt like a heavy burden to me, that I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't want her to come back from having a first baby and for me to go, sorry babe, got no job, like that.
Yeah.
Didn't feel good for me. So I grew the online side as fast as I possibly could, to mostly to protect her her job.
Oh my
But then I realized what I thought was a stopgap because of the pandemic was actually something that I loved more than
God.
I ever loved the other. Yeah.
So did you start to like let go of like the premises and all
Yeah.
of the in-person stuff?
Yeah, I managed to, and I've still got about 8 in-person clients now. Not that I ever really
Mm.
talk about them, but they're big, like multi-million-dollar businesses that I support from a consultancy point of view, from a leadership point of view. So I'll go in and like run a board meeting, but I never talk about that online because it's such a different side of me. But yeah, I still have some of those clients now.
I would absolutely talk about that. That's like full main character energy. Like, I'll just
Yeah,
back from a board meeting.
yeah.
Casual.
Yeah, I was in an airport like not that long ago with a couple of other coaches, a couple of other girls that do what we do, and this guy came over and started talking to me. And bearing in mind we're sat in Heathrow and I live in Devon, the girls were like, "Who's that?" I said, "Oh, it's an old client," and they were like, a client? He's a middle-aged guy. You support women?" And I was like, "Yeah, but from my old business." And they said, "Oh, what does he do?" I said, "Oh, he runs a group of estate agencies." And they were like, they couldn't get their head around it. They were like, "How did you work with estate agencies?" I said, "Oh, he did a management buyout and I coached his team so that one of them could become a better leader and go through the management buyout." And they were like, "How do you know how to do a management buyout?" And I was like, it's just me. Like, business is my DNA, and they're just parts of me that I rarely talk about. But Yeah, you could drop me into any business and I could go and in any corner of it and be able to help them. So yeah, a bit random.
I love that. And it means then that you can, yeah, you can help people of all different levels, all different industries, all different backgrounds, different team sizes, different targets.
Mm,
And that's what I love about both of our knowledge is that because we've come from that sales background, we're so used to like the targets or the milestones or the KPIs. And I feel like having that gives you such a different level of knowledge and expertise, but a different level of fire. You've been
yeah,
used to either being part of a big team or leading a big team, and having, like a real fire under your backside to get that done.
yeah,
Which entrepreneurship has, I found initially, I was like, I'd say my first year was a little bit difficult when you're finding your feet about like, what do I post? How does this work?
yeah,
And then it took off and I had all of this time freedom and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But to go from having such rigid like KPIs and weekly targets and this is how we do things to having to completely build my own diary, which at the beginning felt like total freedom, but
yeah,
quickly became who's running this ship.
yeah, yeah. Who's going to set me my goals?
A little bit just like woohoo and whatever happens happens. And so yeah, bringing a little bit of consistency in there, but to go from having such rigidity through to total freedom was such, again, another culture shock there. I
Yeah,
don't know if you found that, but I guess because you'd had the in-person practice, if you like,
yeah.
or the environment there, the office, and then built into the online space from there. I love that. I don't know if I knew that little middle piece there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I had to go through, like shifting those two businesses, was price. Like I never realized I had such a shitty money mindset. Like I
Mm,
used to charge like £50 an hour and think that was a lot of money, like in my own business, even though in my corporate salary, once you worked out my hourly rate, it was more than that. I just, I don't know. I just used to get so blown away that I would send out these big invoices and people would pay that, for little old me. And it just took me a while to really stand in my real authority and
yeah,
be like, I'm bloody good at what I do. It
yeah,
was when a company came to me and said, we do about 30 million in turnover. We've looked into your background. We want to move to 35 million. Can you help us?
yeah,
And I was like, they're coming to me to help them make 5 million. I don't even make 5 million myself, but my background
yeah,
shows that I know how to do it. And so, yeah, I then started to get a little bit more
yes.
solid in my skills and belief in what I could do.
Yeah, I 100% can relate to that because it's very different when you've been selling high ticket products under a reputation of like a brand that
Yeah,
has standing in the market. I was working for a FTSE 250 company, so it was one of the biggest events companies that there were. And so loved having the privilege of working for a brand like that. But when it came to me starting out on my own, I did the same, just charging by the hour initially because nobody knew who I was and
yeah,
I didn't know who I was outside of that brand. So I
yeah,
had to build up my expertise both to myself and the industry to sort of prove myself.
yeah,
If I was to go back now, I wish that I'd backed myself and be like, I've sold high ticket products. I
yeah,
and therefore my price is my price. Uh,
yeah,
but at the time, I was like, well, nobody knows me, so I need to just like charge low, build up a reputation, and go from there.
yeah.
Whereas I know that there's plenty of other people who just charge high from the outset who don't even have the expertise to back it up. But there we go.
Oh I don't get me started because that soapbox is high. If I fall off it, I'm going to hurt myself. Like because yeah, I completely agree with you. In the online space, it is very possible to have great marketing but a bad offer, and it will still sell. Yeah, great marketing will sell a bad offer. Great marketing will sell a bad coach. And that's not me saying everybody's bad. Like so many people are great at what they do, but it is possible to have marketing way more shiny than what the actual reality of the program is.
100%. And I think I reckon, and I might be wrong in this, but I reckon we see it more because we understand sales and marketing to such a
Yeah,
great depth. So
yeah,
you tell the difference between someone that's great at marketing versus people that actually bring that substance to the table,
yeah,
and who's just got like nice glossy brand photos and is, hiring things to look like they're more successful than they are, and it's all just sort of smoke and mirrors. But actually, when you look at their content or look at their wording, or you can just tell that there's not the level of expertise that they're making themselves out to be.
yeah.
And this isn't me taking a little dig at the industry. This is saying, I wish that we were doing better, and we should be doing better. And why isn't there more integrity in the industry?
Yeah, this is why some people call the coaching world a pyramid scheme, because it looks like, and this is true in some cases, that it is possible to join a program where you pay for the expertise and then you just regurgitate that expertise and
Yeah,
label it as your own into your own programs, and that will get you so far, but only so far. It can
yeah,
never get you the sort of feedback that me or you would get,
yeah,
where like my mastermind clients, for example, they tell me all the time, like, just feel so safe having you by my side, because there's nothing that phases you. If I get a legal issue, if I get a client payment issue, if I've got a system problem or I need to design a process, nothing to do with sales, but everything to do with business growth and stability, I just feel safe knowing that I've got you guiding me. And you
yeah.
can't make that shit up. You can't just go and regurgitate that from somebody. You either know it or you don't. It's either in your skill set or it's not.
And that's it. That's where, which, just as you were saying, like the sort of pyramid scheme language that the coaching industry has a bad but valid rep for, because of this, I'll go take a program and then I'll go teach that knowledge as if it were my own. Like, that would be like me going to take a massage course once and then saying, I can help you, like I can teach it. Like, it's
Yeah,
ludicrous.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's insane, but people do it. But like you were saying, it's one thing to just go and learn, and you can be excited about that. But to then, pass that knowledge off as your own without even understanding the depth that required to actually understand that level of knowledge, to be able to facilitate that same transformation as you experienced, because you're not that level of, oh, I'm getting into it. But yes,
yeah,
there's a lot of more junior people coming into the industry. I guess because of the boom since 2020, which is amazing, and love that other people have got all of these opportunities. But where there's the huge polarity, as in there's a lot of people chasing that next level of XK month, whether it's 20K, 10K, 50K month. And people are so excited to get to this goal without having harnessed the depth required to be there.
yeah, yeah. And it shows itself, that level of depth either does or doesn't show itself in the Q&A that we do inside our programs, online,
Mhm.
in interviews like this, for example. Like, the depth shows itself when there's a question, when there's a nuance, when there's a,
Mm.
okay, well, I get that you're teaching me that, but what would happen in this situation? And it's then when somebody can't fully answer that or can't fully back it up, that
Yeah,
lack of depth shows itself, and that's what then makes people feel that they're maybe not in the safest pair of hands, that maybe they've invested into something that was glossy on the outside and maybe not necessarily going to take them to where they want to get to next. But you know,
yeah.
I guess it sounds like we're going, oh, bad coaching industry, terrible coaches, but it's just the reality. It's not, it's
We
not.
want better.
Yeah, yeah, like, raise the flipping bar. Let's really come from a place of integrity
Yeah,
and make sure that our clients get the best experience. Because no matter what the industry, whether it's a product or a service, it doesn't matter what it is, we all know the businesses that are going to last the longest and
yeah,
do the best from a profitability point of view are the ones that give great customer experience and do
yeah.
what they say they're going to do. That's the holy grail for me.
100%. We're both here as sales experts, and we're telling you that you're customer experience and your delivery is more important than your sales. If you only get good at sales and marketing, you will have a very short-term business. The
Yeah.
delivery has to be excellent, because that's what people will speak about. And people are either helping you build your brand and they're being brand ambassadors for you, or it's the opposite and they're saying, I wish I hadn't joined that, and it's killing your brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are either your what did we used to call it in, did you do NPS scores when you were in corporate?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
they're either your something or your detractors.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That... yeah. God, we used to do that every quarter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Trustpilot, we had Trustpilot scores, and we were sending to car dealers. They hated us. They absolutely hated us. And so, sometimes it was hard to keep those people happy. It's a lot easier to keep clients happy in what I do now than it was in my corporate days.
Indeed, indeed. Just be a
Mm.
good person, give a good service.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there's times over the last year or so where it's become very clear to me the reputation that I've built,
Yeah.
without blowing smoke up my own ass. Like things like I used a word in my marketing probably about, maybe it was 18 months ago now, that another coach had trademarked. And I didn't
Mm,
know it because I thought, well, this is one word. It's really hard to trademark one word. I'm just going to use that word. I like the word. And somebody that I know, a coach that I know really well, I've been on a retreat with, sent me a voice note. She said, Rach, I hate that I've got to send you this. I hate that it's you, and I don't want to, cause you a whole load of work to go and redo all your marketing. But I do own that word. I have it trademarked. And I was like, okay, babe, I get it. Yeah, I was like, I get it. I understand it. That's the whole point, that we trademark. I've got trademarks myself. I would make the call if you were using my words. So please don't worry. I will go and change it. Literally about 20 minutes later, she voice noted me again and said, do you know what? I've just looked into what it is that you're selling. It's a 3-week sprint. Use the word. I don't mind, because it's you. And I was
yeah,
like, that tells me everything, like there's coaches bashing each other around the head all over the place. But yet in this situation, who I am has made that a much nicer conversation than it needs to be. And then another a client who was in my mastermind, this was about a month ago, she voice noted me and said, I've been working with ChatGPT and I've come up with this amazing methodology. I really want to use it, but it's a word that you use. It's one of your methods. Do you mind if I use it? She said, it's completely different, but can I use it? I would never use it unless you gave me permission. And she said, and I will credit you every time I refer to it. And I was like, babe, you don't need to credit me. I haven't trademarked it. I don't own it. Use it. It's your method. You take it.
mm,
So it's things like that that really show you when you've built a solid reputation.
yeah. And I really, really think that that is the secret weapon that not enough people talk about, because that's the thing that will stand the test of time.
Mm.
I feel like I myself, as similar to you, because we've come from a big background, I've always prioritized building brand, not just, posting for that day, or, what clients or sales or what are we doing in this week. I've always been thinking about, what am I building for the future? How am I positioning myself for the future? Because of reputation, and your brand could be so much bigger than wherever you are in the moment. And I've always known that, when I was charging by the hour, I was always like, yeah, but I'm positioning myself for future
Yeah.
me until I get there. And that stands for so much, because we see a lot of people either coming and going in the online space, or doing one thing for 5 minutes and then pivoting into something else.
Mm.
Whereas when you build a solid, reliable brand, that even if, like I've had various different chapters of starting the UK, went to Bali, now back in the UK, and you might have gone through various iterations of you, but what you're talking about and what you're delivering on is still the same, and people can come year after year and you are there,
Yeah.
solid, regardless of who or
Yeah.
what's changing around you. That sort of reliability, I feel like, is rare in this space.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like like my brand message has slightly changed. I was at an event recently where we were talking about our purpose and what really drives us. And I talked about the fact that client stories that had lit me up the most recently were where, like, one lady in particular, I'll use her story. She wanted to have a baby. She was desperate to become a mum, and she just felt like she couldn't even start trying because her business was so big and so detailed and so like cumbersome that she couldn't possibly see a time in the future where she could be a business owner and a mum. And so we remodeled her business. We stripped out offers. We built passive income. We put in funnels for automated leads and sales, and she got pregnant, and then she miscarried. And so we got back to work. We like streamlined it even more because it was her head that was stopping it all happening, because you couldn't see that it was possible. And then we got the business to such a place that it was peaceful. She got pregnant. She went full term. She's now had the baby. She's in maternity. She's making money on mat leave. And I could not be more happy. So like things like that really light me up. I love helping women make money like you do. And whatever they want to spend it on is all good with me. Like, go and travel the world, do whatever you want, buy a house. But things like that, like that ability to have a baby and completely change your life, that
Yeah.
really lights me up. So I think,
Yeah.
brand, mission, purpose, all of that stuff. And I know some people listening to this might be like, oh, that all feels a bit, a bit, too big for me, too big thinking. But I don't,
Absolutely not.
I don't think it is. I think we all need that. If we don't have that, then it's very easy to lose direction when the tough times hit.
You need to know what lights you up and the bigger why, because that's what you need, especially on the days where things aren't going to plan, or you've got challenges, or something unforeseen or has come up, or you've got a fire going on in the business, or there's some various client situations going on. It's the reason that you do what you do, and that's where your heart has got to be in it. If you're only doing it for, I want to make some quick cash, I want to build a quick business, people will see through that, because your heart needs to be in it for on the days when you're building something for the future, but you know that there's going to be some waves in between, some storms in between, because it's that vision and that passion that gets you through, especially just even on the days where you're a bit tired or run down.
Yeah.
You've got to have that little self-talk that says, but I'm doing this for a bigger purpose, or I'm doing this for future me. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah.
So what can we expect for the Rachel in like 5 years' time? What does that look like?
Oh, do you know what? I don't know. Like, at the turn of every year, me and my husband do this exercise, and I do it with the girls that come on my retreats. I call it the 135 life plan. And
Mm,
it's basically a piece of paper or a whiteboard, whatever, 3 columns. Where do you want to be 1 year from now? Where do you want to be 3 years from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? And at the top of each column, I always start off with what stage of life we will be at in my family. So I don't start by thinking about the business. I start by thinking about my family and like where I will be, where my husband will be, where my son will be, who's like just started secondary school. And so we start designing like, where do we want to live? What do we want to drive? What will enhance our living experience? And now we're at the stage where we're like, when we look at 5 years' time, Oliver will be like taking his GCSEs. We'll be thinking about maybe downsizing the house, because the house is too big to rent out, really. Nobody would rent a house this big. That we'd need to downsize, free up some cash so that this becomes rentable, and then we want to buy a property abroad. And
yeah.
so I think what you'll see from me is potentially buying an overseas property where I can run more overseas retreats, because I absolutely love doing that.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, yeah. I think everywhere I go, people are like, "Oh, I love seeing where you are next. You're always on a plane."
Yeah. What?
So
Rach, more flights, more sunshine? Not enough.
yeah, I think there'll be an overseas property either bought or in the buying stage, and I don't think my business model will change that much, because it's very stable, very secure. I've got an offer for different levels that whether people come in at like the base level and just come into my content club, or they come all the way up through into like the millionaire mastermind. There's a stage for everybody. I don't think that will change too much. Yeah, I think things will be pretty stable, actually. I think it'll be more my family and my lifestyle that changes. And obviously the business will be bigger, because that's always the goal, right? But I'm not tied to that, you know, like I've been through the stage of I want to get my recurring revenue to this much and I want to do 1 million and I don't care. Like I'm cool either way. What I care about more than the money is that I work with good people who want to do good things for good reasons. And I
Mm.
want my clients to want abundance. I want my clients to want to get rich in every area of their life. But it's not like money doesn't make me mean something
Yeah.
anymore. You know, if I want to go buy a Gucci bag, I'll buy one. If I want to buy flash sunnies, I'll buy them. But if I want to wear £3 TikTok shop sunglasses, I'll do that too. So yeah, I think I'm just getting old.
Not at all. But you
Just
can,
very chilled, you know, with the money
yeah.
and the growth side.
Yeah, and really understanding that people's priorities are very different. So for some people, like I saw this going out to Bali, I didn't just help people who only wanted freedom to travel. I worked with people who were mums, or like freedom to them meant something very
Mm,
different to what it
mm,
means to me. There's not a one size fits all. And so that's what you were saying about it going back to your purpose and your values, your mission, about what future you want. Do you want like peace? Do you want like
yeah.
easy recurring revenue? Or do you want it might be that you want to be full time and full out for 3 days and then offline for a couple of days? I see you, Rach. Imagine you had like, I don't know, a VIP room in, let's say, Heathrow Airport, and you just did like regular accelerator days or mastermind days in, like, it was Rachel's takeoff day or something, that just like in the airport.
I love that. What a great idea.
Or
I had
maybe a breakfast morning at the airport and then you all take off together.
Yeah. Well, before I flew to Dubai in when was it November, I did actually run my mastermind day in Heathrow at the airport.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah, they all came to Heathrow to meet me at my hotel, and we spent the whole day together, and it was great. So yeah,
Love it.
Rachel's takeoff day, love it.
There we go.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. I was like, I can see it. I can see the branding.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I do think I've come full circle, really. You know, like I've been in the masterminds at the retreats where I've been like, yeah, want to make 1 million, want to make 10 million, and I'll make what I make. You know,
Mhm.
what matters more to me is how I make it,
Yeah.
who I make it with. Like
Yeah.
that matters more. And so maybe anybody listening to this that's holding on tight to a money goal, maybe just loosen the grip a little bit and
Yeah.
get back in touch with what you really really want, you as a person, you as a human. If you've got, you know, like a partner and kids, check in with them. If it's just you and you're like, you know, free as a bird to go wherever you want, just get back in touch with what's really lighting up your soul, because sometimes we hold on too tightly to what we think the goal needs to be. And
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than spending all your time and energy chasing someone else's goal only to realize it was never really important to you.
Yes, 100%. And that actually you've just spent too long absorbing other people's message to the point that you've taken it on and reinforced that you think that you want that, and then achieving it and realize that it was never your message to take on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like we don't want to feel empty, do we? Like we want to feel fulfilled. We want to
Yeah.
feel lit up, you know? And when I close my eyes and do a visualization of where I see, you know, me and my family 5 years from now, 6, 10 years from now, we're on a boat. We're in blue sky. We're, you know, we're living our best lives. We're wearing white, eating fruit, drinking champagne, like just feeling amazing, you know, like there's dolphins down in the sea. Like we're
Oh,
just
dreamy.
doing life in the most abundant way. But
Yes.
it's not like, oh, I'm sat here counting my money because I've just hit like 100K a month. Like that's
Yeah,
it's empty. That's empty to me.
it is. It is. 100%. And you can see the difference between people who are just going towards a monetary goal, versus people who have like really integrated it into their life, are
Mm,
like living with purpose, enjoying the everyday, will still have their own goals and motivations, but are so much living in the now, not just like build, 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 build.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
love that we both are like present and in really enjoying the now. And for everyone
absolutely.
here, I know that you'll go follow Rach after this, but Rach is really, really good at as am I. We really take the most out of every opportunity. So it doesn't matter if she's flying somewhere, it doesn't matter if she's in the car going somewhere, it doesn't, and especially if she's at an event, she will be selling something. She's going to absolutely make the most out of wherever she's going. I feel like you do so much that's and you travel for that purpose because you get to enjoy traveling and all the experiences and the masterminds that come with that. But also, it's so inspiring content because you're 1 minute in Dubai and the next minute you might be in, I don't know, the Algarve or something. It's like, where is
Yeah,
she now?
yeah. I just went to France with a client who invited me to go and run their team strategy event in the Alps. So
Oh,
like I had the snow content, I was up the mountain, I made £800 at the top of that mountain. Like
nice.
it was, it's just like everything I needed to help me sell my funnel building retreat. Like here I am up a mountain and look, my funnels are funneling. So yeah, like if I want to sell something, I will always think about what's the most aligned way that I can embody the result of
Yeah,
that thing. And so if the thing is a retreat, then I put myself on a yacht, like because that's
yeah.
the life I want to live.
Absolutely. And like, what better to embody your message than to go and you get to live your best life in the process.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I love it. I love
It
it.
reminds me of how we actually first met because it was going on a retreat, wasn't it?
It was.
I don't know, for me, I'd actually planned to go on the Ibiza edition. So there was two different editions of that same retreat, wasn't there? And I was living in Bali at the time. I'd planned to be in the UK. So I was like, oh, well, Ibiza's just a short hop. Had booked it and then realized that I'd got this date clash. And I was like, oh no, like the only other way that I could do it is if I moved to the LA one, which was a completely different time of year and the total opposite side of the world from where I was. I was like, this is the longest travel plan ever, but okay, but we'll make a whole story out of this. So fly all the way to LA, find myself in Hollywood, which is where we were just down the road in our hotels, weren't we?
Yeah,
Um, and for everyone listening here, so I'd hired a car, which is ballsy given that it's the different side of the road. There might be 6 lanes of traffic, like the freeways are crazy in the US. And you and also Evita Barwise were down in the hotel just down the road. And so I
yeah,
was like, jump in my car. And we're driving through the windy Beverly Hills, mansion spotting and just having the best time. Whilst then that conversation came up of like, we've all traveled to the other side of the world to come to somebody else's event because there isn't enough going on in the UK. Why don't we just do it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
I
we ran
remember
our
the
event.
nostalgia that we've got of that car trip of just like, and we actually, I can remember having the best time in that car. Of course, we had an incredible time at the event, but we had so much fun just in the car going to the event. And so many great ideas that came out of the actual just commute to get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had so many laughs, didn't we, in that car? I remember like driving down Hollywood Boulevard, like trying to take pictures and write the stars on the road, and yeah, we had such fun, didn't we?
We did. And that's a lesson for everyone here is like, go get yourself into places, say yes to events because I said yes to that, not knowing anybody that was going to go at the time. I just wanted to get myself there because I knew I'd meet incredible people. So to then find myself in a car with you guys, and there was also Libby from New Zealand,
Yeah,
all of us having the best time in the car, where then that idea of, well, let's do an event in the UK and let's not mess around. Should we do it in like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months? Like, let's get back, plan it, and host it. And then there
yeah,
was an event happening within just a couple of months of us being all the other side of the world in LA. And from there, didn't stop just there. We're like, let's launch a 3-way program as well. Why not?
yeah. We ran. It was an 8-week program, wasn't it? And like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we went full on into it, didn't we?
We did just one thing, and it was a really nice waterfall and like such a great learning experience for all of us because we all have very different skill sets and very different personalities as well.
Yeah, yeah,
We're like,
yeah,
oh, we all have different ways of doing the same thing. This is interesting.
yeah, yeah. I think anybody listening to this that maybe hasn't ever done a collaborative anything, whether it's a collaborative event, online masterclass, summit, whatever. Like
Mm,
we're in the year of connection and community. I really believe 2026 is all about connection, community. And the best way to find new connections and build new communities is to collaborate with others. because
Yeah.
doing it on your own, whilst it's possible, it's much slower. Whereas, when we ran that event, we got all those women in the room. We had like, was it 54, I think, women, something like
Yeah.
that, in the room. So we all got to meet new people. The amount of content that went out, pictures, video clips from that room. We had photographers in there. It was just incredible,
Yeah.
incredible for meeting new people and flying the flag to others to say, you can do this too. Just go and
Yeah.
find people that you gel with and you can bounce off, because
Yeah.
there's enough for everybody. You could say we do very similar things, but people, might be in my audience and prefer to work with you, and that's cool, and vice versa. It's just, there's enough for everybody. We are abundant in every way.
Yeah. And that it doesn't need to take a long time. You don't need to have known the person absolutely ages, as long as trust is there and you like, this person is a vibe, we can have fun together, to the point that even when there's going to be nuances that you don't always agree on, but as long
Yeah,
as you've got that like personal relationship and trust there, then you're both working towards the same shared vision, and
yeah,
just freaking go. Doesn't need to
yeah,
take a year of planning. Like if you feel the pull, it just, because we see so much of the same things just in different reiterations. Like if you have a spark or an idea of, nobody's doing this, shall we just go freaking do it? Like
yeah,
act on it and implement it. And then all of a sudden it's barely a few months since you were once in a car and you're in a room with photographers. And I remember just standing at the back of the room when you were speaking, Rach, because we all had a different turns, and just being like, holy shit, how did this happen?
yeah. It was so good. And like you say, if you feel the pull, just go for it. Don't give yourself all the reasons why not. Just give
Yeah.
yourself the one bit of action that will move it forward. I know you know Rosie as well. You know Rosie O'Boyle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember once. This was quite early on, actually, and I think this might have been in my first year. She sent me a voice note, and it went something along the lines of, "Hi, Rach, this might be a bit weird, but I flipping love you. I think you're, like mine and your energy. We would bounce really well together. I'd love to collaborate with you in some way. Like, if that's weird, tell me to get lost. But, I'd love to chat to you." And I messaged her back and went, "Oh my God, I love you too. Let's get on a
Yeah.
call." And we had a coffee, and we launched a program together. We ran a whole program together, and it was great. So, like anyone, if you're just feeling the pull, just bloody go
Yeah.
for it. Just do it.
Oh, love that. Love that.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, I'm excited for everything that can come in 2026. So yeah, both with us, everybody listening, I like reach out, make partnerships, make relationships,
Mm,
because I would say for me, that's the, if I could put one thing down that is, I mean, aside from having prior sales experience and like what you're bringing to the table before you get started, but the one thing that has kept me going is the relationships that I've met along the way. And
yeah,
that's been because of how I've physically put myself in the room, where I've gone to, like choosing higher level rooms, choosing to go well out my way to
yeah,
the other side of the world, because being around people who have the same sort of vision or that same drive, that same fire, that I do, has been the most important thing. And when you find those people, those relationships, like we have, I know that
yeah,
one event, but we've spoken now for years, and I know
yeah,
that I could call you up and be like, Rach, do you want to go to the spa next week? And we
yeah,
would.
yeah,
Those relationships are absolutely critical. Like the most important thing I feel for like
yeah.
your how solid you feel on your journey is so much around the circle that you have around you.
Yeah, I agree completely. And the reality is that most people's friends and family don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I know my friends and family try to get it. Like they do their best to be like, "So how's business?" and to understand it, but nobody understands it like a fellow entrepreneur, somebody that is
Yeah.
building, something similar to what you're building. Like it's hard sometimes, and to have
Mm.
somebody that gets it, is everything. Is everything, because we need that support. Like
Yeah.
someone to celebrate with, and somebody to go like, "Oh my God, like why is this not working?" Like, yeah, community is everything.
It really, really is. This is your sign to get inside, like at least a membership, but ideally a mastermind, so that you can have the level of depth of conversations that needed. So it's not just what am I selling, posting, launching, and all the strategy stuff. It's the nuance and the glue that brings us together as people behind that.
Yeah,
That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff. That's the feeling of safety
Yeah.
and support, where you can say anything and not be judged, where you
Yeah.
can ask the question that maybe, you thought people would be like, well, she should know that by now. Like, you can ask anything.
Mm.
Masterminds is where that happens in the best way, in my opinion. Like, I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of a mastermind. I run 2 masterminds. Like, I've been in masterminds. I know you're a big fan of masterminds.
Yeah.
And sometimes masterminds are misunderstood. I think
Mm.
some people run them like they're just glorified Q&A, but
Yeah.
a real mastermind is where you get into deep conversation, and
Yeah.
everybody's opinion is shared and put forward, rather than just being a Q&A with the host of the mastermind. So yeah, that would be my recommendation as well. If people are feeling alone or unsupported, or just like they want to go further and faster, do it in community with other women who are
Yeah.
just that little bit further ahead than you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And so just bringing it into a close, if there was one thing from a sales piece of advice that could stand the test of time or help people the most, what is that one piece of advice that you would give to people?
Oh,
It's a big question.
oh, that is a really big question. But my answer sits behind multiple things in business that are often seen as hard but necessary.
Mm.
And when you get good at them, business gets easy. And that is the ability to truly understand your customer. Now,
Mm.
what I'm not saying is have a niche, because I don't believe in niches. And I'm not saying have content pillars, because I don't believe in them either. But I am constantly asked by my clients, how are you able to give me messaging that lands and makes my offer sound so juicy and so activating? And it's because I can think like the buyer. That
Yeah.
when you understand buyer psychology,
Yeah.
not just know your customer's problem, that's baseline, that's
Mm.
expected. But when you can understand the different, like, decision making processes your buyer needs to go on, how they feel, the lies they tell themselves, the myths that they believe, that you might need to navigate along the way to getting the yes. Understanding buyer psychology and the way that your customer thinks is critical for everything. Without
Yeah.
that, you can't build a great offer, you can't write great messaging, you can't match
Yeah.
your knowledge and authority to what it is they're looking to work with. Without that, you haven't got anything really. So
Yeah.
that
And
is the
when you
thing.
do get that, and you're learning from someone that really understands this to a good depth that can really help you with it, when you master that, sales becomes so much more enjoyable because it's
Absolutely.
easy. It's a nice conversation. It's like equal value, respect. And it's a nice, easy conversation and a nice, like high value client coming on board. And not just for like a quick win or a quick relationship. These are like your loyal customers coming on that will stay with you for ages because you get them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like when you work with someone like me or you who understands biopsychology, you'll be able to, maybe share your offer with its current title, with its current strap line, with its current like problem statements and desire statements, all the things that right now you might be getting off ChatGPT and throwing it onto your sales page and throwing it into your content and hoping it sticks. But when somebody who really understands biopsychology can support you with messaging in a way that absolutely lands,
Mm,
that is gold. And
yes.
what I would encourage anybody to do is to make sure that if you've got somebody supporting you with that, make sure that you understand, why did you say it like that and not like
Yeah.
that? What's the difference? Why does that land the way that lands, and why does that land the way that lands? And sometimes it can just be one word, but once
Yeah.
you understand it, it's like the thing that you can't unsee. Once you know it forever. So that
Yeah.
would be the one thing I think people should invest more time in, invest more money in, invest more energy in, is understanding the biopsychology and their specific customer.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like we could talk about a
That's a
messaging
whole
all
other
day.
podcast.
I freaking love it. And the more that your messaging and content can do for you, the hardly or any sales that you'll need to do, because it's just then a short conversation, because your content and messaging has done so much of the legwork for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so juicy.
You'll see.
Now, I'm mindful of a time, Rach, but I wanted you to quickly, because I know that you've got the lazy girl sales method. So what is that? What does that mean to you? How did that come about?
Oh, it kind of came about by accident. I said it on an Instagram live. And I've always said this, even going back to my corporate days, I've always said I'm the laziest person in the room, not because I don't want to work, because I work bloody hard, but because I'll always find the shortcuts. I will always find the way to get things done with the least amount of time, the least amount of energy, because I value my peace and my time and my
Yeah.
freedom. So I am the ultimate lazy girl. But when I said it on a live, I had that many people reach out to me and go, "What's this lazy selling? I need to know about lazy selling." And so what it was is I developed a way of selling that strips out the need for sales pages, strips out the need for email sequences, and makes the journey from content through to conversation and conversion faster and more streamlined. So it's basically using a Google document instead of a sales page. Not just any Google document, it's got to have certain things on it and it's got to be built a certain way. And I ran a session last night for the girls inside my Lazy Girl sales system, giving them a course update where I was explaining like how to personalize, like the way that sales journey like works. So yeah, Lazy Girl selling is basically a shortcut sales funnel. It's the fastest sales funnel that you'll ever build. It takes about 90 minutes. I could probably build one in 60. Now I've done a few, but it's a really, really, really simple automated way to convert people directly from Instagram.
Amazing. Love
Mm.
to hear that. And you know, when I've landed on what I expected to be a sales page and just come on to like a Word doc or someone talking me through their offer thing, it's so much more interesting, because when you strip away all the colors and the pretties and the distractions,
Yeah.
someone's actual words and intention is just left to shine. So I love that.
Yeah. I think we're in an age now where, and although we were talking about importance of brand earlier, and I know people will hear that as logos and colors and graphics and the way something looks, but it's actually more about how it feels. But anyway, it when I say a Google document, which is just basic text, it sounds like, well, do the graphics not work? Should I not make things look pretty and designed? It does work, but we're in an age of distrust. We're in a time at the moment where people are more looking for the reasons not to buy than they
Yeah.
are looking for the reasons to say yes. And so if something looks like marketing, up come the blocks, up come the barriers, up comes the resistance. We want to cling on to our wallet and go, no, I'm not spending any money. Take your stuff away from me. I'm not buying anything. And so the way that I see sales working best right now is when it doesn't look like selling. So like I
Yeah.
call it anti-selling. I will do anything I can not to sell. But of course, because I understand biopsychology, I know how to say it in a way that makes them want it even more without me even mentioning the name of the offer. So like lazy selling, anti-selling, all of these things are what I think is working best right now. And it's very, very in your face. It's very not in your face. It's not loud. It's not megaphone marketing. It's very, very subtle. That's
Mm.
that's what I see working.
Love that.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Well, thank you for sharing your Lazy Girl Sales system with us. It sounds
You're
epic.
very, you're
And I
very welcome.
completely agree that where we're a few years in now, how people view things, how they make decisions, and that added reservation, uh, if not active distrust, is a real thing. And so, yeah, take all the lessons from this for everyone listening. What can you be doing differently to build more trust, build more like clear authority, clear conviction, so that when people see your stuff or they're on your sales pages, wherever that is, that they've got certainty in you. There's no questions about, can this person deliver, or is she going to give me what she says? Like, how can you build more certainty, and sales will be so much easier.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I've absolutely loved this, and I feel like we could go on for hours and hours and hours.
I know, I love it. When we sit down and chat, we know that we always go off in all sorts of directions, but I think we've landed some real clear
Yeah.
messages in this episode. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming on.
You're
So where
welcome.
can people come and find you? If they want to connect with you, reach out to you, where's the best place to come and find you?
Well, they can find me literally anywhere, but the main place is on Instagram. My handle is at Rach Howourth. So like no Rachel because everybody spells that wrong. So just Rach. Everyone calls me Rach. So yeah, come drop me a DM on Instagram, say hi, and I would love to hear from anybody. And if you've got any questions about anything I've said here, or if you
Yeah.
want to challenge anything I've said, oh my God, I love
Ooh.
that. And I also have a podcast, so like you're going to come on to my podcast as well. So yeah, I can't wait for that. By the way,
Well, thank you so much for joining me. For everyone listening, I'll drop Rachel's handle underneath here so you can go connect with her on Insta, send her a message, see where it is that she's flying at the time of this episode live, going live. And yeah, thank you so much, Rach, and for everyone here. I shall see you inside the next episode. I'll see you soon, Rach. Bye.
bye.